Welcome to the UGC lecture series. This is the EPG Pathashala on the subject of computer science, and we are talking about the paper machine learning. This is the second module on support vector machines. As we have already seen in the last module, we discussed the basics of support vector machines. Now we will look at it in more detail. So we have here the development team that was responsible for creating this module. And now let us look at the learning objectives of this module. This is to understand the concept of margins of support vector machines, or SVM as they are called. We have looked at this a little bit already in the previous module, but we will go a little more in detail. Then we talk more about soft margin, and then we classify multiple classes. How do you classify? We did only binary classification. How do you do multiple classification, multiple classes, how do you tackle using SVM? And then we go into detail about one or two applications about support vector that uses support vector machines. So the topics here are, the words here are slack variable, multi-class SVM, hyperplane and soft margin. So let us again introduce a small introduction to SVM. SVM has roots in actually statistical learning. It is one of the most important discoveries of machine learning because it is used in a number of applications, either as it is as a end methodology, or it is used as a baseline methodology to compare other methods of machine learning. It works well with high dimensional data, one of the major reasons why it is used, and it represents the decision boundary using only a subset of the training samples called support vector machines. So if you are able to provide that training samples appropriately, you need only few training samples actually to do support vector machines. And we are looking at maximal margin hyperplanes. We already discussed the theory behind maximal margin and how it is justified, and we also talked about soft margin. We are going to look at how soft can the soft margin be. Okay. So again, just to recap on what we were talking, basically support vector machine or SVM is a two-class classification problem. You find a plane that separates two classes. So it uses a linear model of the form y of x is equal to wt of x plus b, and it also uses a threshold function which says that if it is above the threshold it is 1. Normally you use it is equal to 0 and say positive negative, and you assume here that the training data is linearly classifiable or separable. As you can see, y is equal to 0, y is equal to 1 and y equal to minus 1. So this is what we assume. This is just a recap of what we did in the last module. Now if you look here, this is what the concept that we called as margin, and margin of a classifier is defined as the minimum distance to any example in that margin, in that particular example set. So you can see that blue dot there, it touches against that, and in this side it touches against that red dot. So those two are the support vectors, and in SVM the decision boundary which maximizes margin is chosen. So you have to please note what we tell here is this decision boundary can be like this, can be like this, can be like this. That is dependent upon your optimization problem is choose the data points in such a way that this margin is maximized. Now we look at optimal separating hyperplane. So this is we want to find the d plus and d such that it is the best one. So because there is probability of a large number of hyperplanes, so there are multiple hyperplanes that separate the data points, which is the one we should choose, okay, and that is why we have the maximum margin choice, the maximum distance between d plus d minus, where d plus is the shortest distance of a positive sample from the margin or the hyperplane, not the margin, the hyperplane, and d minus is the shortest distance of a data point from the hyperplane. So that is how we define the maximum margin. So slightly different look at that. Now let us go back to that non-separable data or the soft margin. Now what if the problem is not linearly separable, that is it is separated by a circle or whatever. One method is if it has just noisy points somewhere, not too many differences, then you introduce the slack variables that we saw, and in the slack variables we had to minimize this function, where you will see that we are more bothered about that part of it, C and the eta function which is the slack variable, and it is subject to the condition that the function has to be 1 and minus 1 according to this equation of wxi plus b greater than or equal to 1 minus eta 1 or lesser than equal to minus 1 plus eta 1 if it is positive and negative. Okay. So, this is the difference here. Previously we used to take it as 1 and less than. Here we have introduced the eta 1 also. Okay. So, what is this soft margin? Just a recap. Maximum margin allows SVM to select among multiple candidate hyperplanes. Kernel function is inoperated for some training data. Solution is the soft margin. Sometimes you can directly go for kernel where you change as lower dimension to a higher dimension, but here we go for soft margin that accepts some misclassification of the training samples. That is, we do not, if it is extensive misclassification, you cannot use soft margin. A soft margin can be obtained, as we said, by adding a constant factor to the kernel function output if it is already using a kernel, or you can define a priori an upper bound on the size of the training set weights. Okay. So, the linear soft margin SVMs, so you can have linear also and non-linear also. We here are talking about the linear. Soft margin SVM tries to maintain the slack variables to cite eta 1 to 0 while maximizing the margin. It does not minimize the number of misclassification, but the sum of distances from the margin hyperplanes. Here going a little more in detail. We do not minimize the, we take misclassification and decide eta, but we do not try to minimize the misclassification, but we try to minimize the sum of distances from the maximum hyperplanes. As a trade off parameter C tending to infinity, we get closer to the hard margin solution if you take C like that. So, this is the problem, or the soft margin is actually the C problem, or C plays a major role in controlling overfit. This is a trade off, and this C plays a major role in controlling overfitting. If you put large value of C, it becomes overfitting, we have already mentioned it. The larger C, less training samples that are not in ideal position, but smaller margin affects the performance. So, C large enough may lead to overfitting. If you have a small C, more training samples that are not in an ideal, that is, it's misclassified will come, but it may also result in underfitting. So, this is a C, you have to choose the C appropriately. Again, it is a trial and error method. So, if you look at this, this is the method where we try to choose the C in such a way. As you see, you go from underfitting to overfitting. As the C value increases, the overfitting increases. So, and the complexity, obviously we already know that if you have too much of overfitting, you have complexity and so on. So, this is the C problem. Now, let us look at the robustness of soft versus hard margins SVMs. Now, if you look at this particular example on the left hand side, you have the variable 1 and variable 2, and if you have the actual hyperplane separating it as W x bar plus B equal to 0, and you have the margin, but you also have an eta 1 that you can see that the red spot has come on the other side of the margin, not on the right side, but in putting the eta 1 you are allowing that is the soft margin SVM. Now, if you look here, you have hard margin, that is there is no data point that comes, as you can see, as soft margin the margin is there, but margin is a little bit loose. Here you have a very strict or the hard margin where you do not have any misclassification. So, this is the difference between hard margin and soft margin. Now, hard margin SVM objective function still valid, but constraints needs to be relaxed. Linear separate does not satisfy all the constraints will not be satisfied. Inequality constraints need to be relaxed a bit to accommodate the non-linearly separable data, and it may result in overfitting. Soft margin allows errors in misclassification or in classification or misclassification, softens the constraints and makes it go to underfitting. So, that is the idea. So, from overfitting we are trying to move towards underfitting by putting this eta value C, choosing the appropriate C. Now, we go to an important aspect of SVM, that is multi-class SVM. Up to now we had only talked about two classes. Now, all real world problems can be broken down to binary, but that is not a natural way of doing classification. So, if you take salary, you have maybe 5 classes, 10 classes. Okay. If you have a class of students, marks according to marks or grades, for example, you have 5 grades. Binary is not a normal classification, except maybe email is a typical example, spam not spam, that is binary. But please remember, any problem you can make it into multi-class, you can make it into binary. There are two basic approaches to this. One is one versus others. You construct a regular SVM for each class that separates that class from all other classes. Okay. For that is, you take that class as positive and all other classes as negative. For example, suppose I have grades as A, B, C, D, 4 grades. Now, I take A and not A. that is all BCD comes under not A, that is one SVM. The next SVM you take B, and all other things, that is A, C, D comes under not A, I mean not B, that is the second SVM. Third SVM you have C and A, B, D, and then D and A, B, C. So, like this you have 4 SVMs for each of the classes. So, that is one way of doing, and choose a class I that its corresponding SVM has the maximum output. Okay. Now, pairwise you can do, construct regular SVM for each pair of classes using max wins voting strategy. Choose the class with highest number of votes. So, here you can take a regular SVM, take each pair AB, BC, CD and AD, and then see which one suits the thing better. So, this is the way of tackling SVM. Actually, what we have done is we have not changed the concept of SVM. Only thing is we are using multiple SVMs in different ways, one versus others method or pairwise method, to find the correct classifier using a binary SVM only. Okay. Now, some of the applications of SVM that have been successfully used in many real world problems are text categorization, image classification, bioinformatics like protein classification, cancer classification, handwritten character recognition, and so on. So, let us take an example of cancer classification. So, it is a high dimensional data where the number of patient samples or patients is greater than 1000 and the number of genes is maybe less than 100. So, you have the imbalance here is you will have less positive samples. That is one problem that you have with the application. You cannot say that the number of positive and negative examples will be equal. So, there is a bias. Okay. So, so what we do here is we take kxx is equal to kxx plus lambda n plus by the total number of samples. This is just weighting it such that the positive is not thrown away. So, you have kxx plus each of the positive samples, you take that and you multiply it by a weighting fraction lambda into the number of positive samples. Let us say we have 1000 samples and we have only 200 positive samples, you take 200 by 1000, okay. The rest are obviously negative samples. Now, there are many irrelevant features also. So, the feature selection is very important. So, you have to select the features such that your dimension is reduced. In the linear case, WIS grades give the ranking of dimension I. So, SVM is sensitive to noisy mislabeled data. This is another issue that we have to tackle. Another example of SVM is the classification of natural text or hypertext documents into a fixed number of predefined categories based on their content. This is a very, very important application of in today's web world. Email filtering is used for, web searching, sorting documents by topic. Today you have the push and pull technology where you have certain newspapers articles being given to only certain class of people. Again, you need the classification of the people as well as the classification of the newspapers. A document can be assigned to more than one category. This is a slightly different problem. Multiple class means I have more than one class, not binary class A, B, C, D. So, I need one data point to be given to either A, either B, C or D. Here we are talking about, let us assume we have a article on Sachin Tendulkar starting a business. Then it can fall into two categories, sports as well as business. So, here we are talking about one data point being assigned to more than one category. So, viewed as a series of binary classification problems, one for each category. So, how do you represent the text? IR's vector space, IR is information retrievals vector space model, which is nothing but the bag of words representation. What we do here is we take a document and we represent the document, we take the frequently occurring words, we remove the stop words, that is the of, which does not contribute to the the content of the text. Then you take a frequently occurring words and then those are the words that represent that particular text. Then this is considered as a bag of words because I am not bothered about the order in which the words come. So, each text is represented like this and then you have a vector space model. So, each document is now represented by a vector, okay, a column vector, let us assume. So, each document is represented by a vector which contains all the words that are there. Now, let us assume that I have a document corpus and all the words of the document corpus will form the rows. So, I will have a number of rows corresponding to each and every word unique word in all the documents put together. So, when I take one particular document, I will have the number, there are different methods in which this is stored, but I will just tell for simplicity sake, either the word is there, this is a binary representation, either the word is there or not there in that particular document. Now, you can see that the dimension of this column vector is very high. So, document is represented by a vector indexed by a prefix set of dictionary terms, that is the number of unique words. The values for an entry can be binary or weights. I told you an example of binary. It can be weight. The weight is calculated in different ways. One is the so called TF-IDF, this is which is put here. TF is the term frequency, number of times that particular term has occurred in that particular document, term frequency, and also something called IDF. Now, what is this IDF? Inverse document frequency. Now, suppose I have 10 documents, I want to classify them, and I have a particular word that frequently occurs in all the 10 documents, then that set of that word is not going to help me to differentiate or classify these 10 documents. Okay. So, what I do in this case is I find out that I give a word more weightage. Okay. Of course, it has the frequencies there. If I have 10 documents, it comes in less number of documents, then that particular. So, suppose I have a word that comes in all the 10 documents, then that will have less weightage. If it comes only in 2 documents, then I have that 2 will be that particular word will have more weightage. That is called the inverse document frequency. Less number of documents it is there, the more weight it will have. That is the TF-IDF. TF is the term frequency in the particular document, and IDF is the across document, inverse of the across document frequency. So, values of the entry can be binary or weights. So, that is what we say TF-IDF log IDF divided by k. And normalization, stop words and word stem, that is also to be handled. It is you remove the stop words, and sometimes stems are used, or for example, suppose I have singings or play, played, playing, everything can be represented as play. Otherwise, it does not, if it comes of unique words, it does not make sense in this particular example of IR. And so, the document is finally represented as a psi of x, okay, which is a vector. Now, how do we, that is the representation. How do we do text categorization using SVM? So, we represent the distance between two documents as the distance between the two vectors, and k of x comma z is equal to psi of x, psi of z is a valid kernel. So, SVM can be used with this kernel for discrimination. Why should you use SVM in this case? It is a high dimensional input space, it has few irrelevant concepts, it is a dense concept, sparse document vectors, sparse instances, and text categorization problems are normally linearly separable. So, this is the reason why SVM is used for text categorization. Now, what are the advantage of SVM? So, you can use kernels to map to a very high dimensional space. How to find that kernel is a problem, but if you can find it, it can map to a high dimensional space. Search space has a unique minimum always, and training is extremely efficient. Classification is also extremely efficient. Kernel and cost are two parameters to select which do you want, and very good accuracy in typical domains. So, these are the reasons why SVM is very, very popular today. And there are, in fact, we will come to that, there are some tools that are available which you can directly apply to your problem, and it is extremely robust. Then does it have any weaknesses? Yes, it has. It is sensitive to noise. If you have relatively small number of mislabeled examples, it can dramatically decrease the performance. This is a very important aspect. Of course, as per the definition of SVM, it considers only two classes, binary classes. It is expensive in both memory and computational terms, especially for multi-class, because you have to build separate SVM for each class, class. How to do multi-class classification with SVM effectively? That we have to do it in a different way using some other techniques. Another problem, as which we have told before also, it is not, we just said magically a kernel function. It is not clear how to select a kernel function in a very systematic or principled manner. What is the right value or trade-off parameter C? Remember what is the C? C is for the soft margin. How do you decide what the value of C? Should it be underfitting? Should it be overfitting? Where is it? Where do you draw the line? Because if you put, this is a typical problem, if you do too much of underfitting, you cannot, it is a random selection. I mean, it does not model the training data, but if you do overfitting, it cannot handle new data or predict about new data. So, there are some popular implementations of SVM. One is called SVM Lite, it is available at this particular website. It is by Jochims. It is most widely used SVM classification and regression package, distributed as C++ source and binaries for Linux, Windows and so on. Kernels they provide a polynomial rated basis function and the tanh function. So, they provide, you can try it out and whatever fits your particular application can be used. And libSVM, this is another implementation available. It is a library for support vector machine and it is developed by Chang and Lin. It is widely used and it is developed in C++ and Java. It supports multi-class classification also, and weighted SVM for unbalanced data, that also it provides. For example, where you have less number of positive samples compared to the negative samples, and it allows cross model validation and also an automatic model selection. So, it is a little more sophisticated than SVM Lite, and it has interface for Python, R is a mining tool, so and machine learning tool, so that is importance, plus MATLAB, Perl, Ruby, LabVIEW. Perl is a language that is used extensively for text classification and so on, text problems, so that makes it important. Kernels provided are linear, polynomial rated function and neural tanh. This basically you can see that the kernel functions provided are almost similar, but remember, just providing the kernel function does not solve your problem. You have to find the actual parameters that are needed, and that you have to do trial and error. So, what is the basis we discussed here? In the module 1 and module 2 we discussed some important concepts, but example maximum margin, we explained that again here. We discussed the optimal separating hyperplanes, we explained soft margins, and we explained a new concept called multi-class SVMs. How do we tackle multi-class problems with SVMs? We listed the various applications and we discussed two particular applications, cancer classification and text classification problems. And we listed some of the advantages and also some of the weaknesses, major among them being that even with small misclassification you can go wrong, and selecting of the kernel function. We said that if you have a kernel function it will work well, but selecting that kernel function was a problem. Okay, so that is an issue, not a problem, is an issue. So with that we come to the conclusion of support vector machines, which we discussed across two modules. And please remember that one of the first things you would study when you want to apply machine learning to one of your problems is to try it out with support vector machines. Probably you can even convert your problem into a binary and try it out to get a feel of machine learning. It's one, because the concept is easy to understand, and second, it is also because of the fact that there are implementations available. Another small concept that I want to just talk about support vector machine is it is a discriminatory approach. Normally any classification problem is a generative approach, in the sense that you try to model the class. Here you are trying to model the difference between the two classes. In that way it is a discriminatory problem. With this we have finished the discussion on support vector machines. Thank you.